Welcome to Let's Talk, a conversation for creatives. And so you say, what did she play the number 12 from Sesame Street? Yes, I did. I think it was a really beautiful time to be alive as a kid. And so it was one of my favorite things. As today, Disney released a documentary about the amazing Jen Hansen, which had a huge hand in creating uh, Sesame Street, right? And so I was a kid who grew up watching Sesame Street, right? Maria taught me how to count to 10 in Spanish. So just amazing thing, and I think it's cool to retain those amazing memories, those amazing thoughts from being a kid. So welcome to Let's Talk. I'm really excited to be here with you tonight and have a really great conversation with some creatives. I want to run something one more time today as I release something brand new that I've been pondering about doing for a little while, and it's called church commercials, church announcements. Because, like if you grew up a church kid like me, I loved when the church clerk would get up and talk about the church announcements, what was going on in the city. And that's actually a part of how Wild Praise and Music Committee even started, because I wanted to do something to help other people be supported in my local area. Heavily inspired by Miss Vita Brown of Black Gospel Promo, as well as Melanie Platt of Gospel Flavor. All right. So there's a lot of amazing things happening around the world. Like Lillian Lloyd's recording January 7th in Las Vegas. Just amazing things happening. Darius Polk, he's doing a live recording in Atlanta June the 7th. So it's just amazing things happening. So won't you stay right there, okay? And we're going to just let you see some amazing music that's out. And we're just going to let you see one more time, okay? Just so everybody can say, what's going on? I didn't know what's going on. Here's your way to find out it's going on, all right? Be right back. And we are back. All right. So again, some amazing events happening all around the country. Like again, Lillian Lloyd's first live recording in Las Vegas, January 7th. Who is Lillian Lloyd? She's famous for the One More Chance song with Dr. Ricky Dillard. Then you have Darius Polk. He is doing a live recording. Let's see the right date. June 7th in Atlanta, Georgia. You have so many amazing events happening around the country. Of course, the Stellar Awards are in Las Vegas, July 20th. And yes, it's open to the public. Anybody and everybody can attend, okay? So amazing things happening around the country. You want to be sure that you support, right? Support is really, really important. So if you support, you got to support your local events that happen around your town, the festivals, the events. And we're not going to just talk about church, church stuff, right? With church events. So everybody's on tour, right? From SWV to Escape to Tank, Carrie Hilson. I mean, everybody. So get your ducats, save your money, and let's make sure everybody's supported, right? Then it can happen again. The reunion tour has also been released again, right? That's right. They're coming back again. So the reunion tour is the Clark sisters, Yolanda Adams, Marvin Sapp, Fred Hammond, of course, with, our brother, our friend, right? Kirk Franklin. It's going to be amazing. So get your tickets. The tickets are selling out fast everywhere. So don't wait till the last minute. Okay. Cool. All right. So now tonight I get to have a conversation with some of my fellow creatives, people who I do life with, but kind of like from a distance, right? But we all talk, we all laugh together, we have secret jokes together. We just have a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to talk to these people because these are some, like, in my opinion, like private geniuses, people that you see work done from all across the country. You just may not know that it's them, right? Some of your favorite things that you've seen created, and you just don't know it's them, right? So first it was just gonna be me and the guys. Then I couldn't do it by myself. I had to add another girl. All right. So let's go first. That's right. Let's go first. My sister, my friend. Hey, to everybody that's tuned in. What's up to Elton? Shout out to Elton Benjamin, who just had an amazing creative conference in Raleigh, Durham. It's called the Creativeverse, and it was amazing. Thank you, Elton, for putting together such an amazing, very professional, at my ad, really, really great event where I got to meet some really new people, start some really great new relationships. What's up, my beautiful Lemonhead friend? Who's the Lemonheads? Of course, I'm a part of Kevin Lemons and Higher Calling, and we are the Lemonheads. So shout out to my beautiful friend, my travel mate, my makeup artist, all those parts. My favorite friend, Leah, one of our guests. He's in the comments as well. RJ Stevenson. What's up? Now, some of you may be hanging out from Instagram, right? So I'm gonna make sure I reach out to you too. That's right. Isn't this great how technology's evolved? So we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're just everywhere tonight. I'm excited. I'm like a little geek because I get to talk to these people again. Jared, he's on with us tonight, but he's also in the comments, right? And we're gonna have some good conversation. Leah's in the comments, so that means we're gonna have some good laughs and some good fun. So everybody, listen, tag somebody, share with somebody, because we're gonna have some really great fun, some conversations, and we're gonna also help you out. We're going to give some really great tips, some really great things, because I saw a bunch of stuff today. And I said, well, I love to share, but the flyer's too small. But this is happening. So we're going to have some conversation, right? So let's go this way. I'm going to invite one person at a time, and then they're going to all tell you about who they are themselves, right? They can talk better about themselves than I can. All right. So first up, we have Mr. RJ Stevenson. I think I should call him Pastor because it's Sunday. Pastor RJ Stevenson, right? Going to add him to the conversation. Hello.
What's up? You pastor me because it's Sunday? Wow.
I just found out that he was an actual pastor.
Man, you got some of my members up here watching. They know I'm a pastor, but what's up?
Found out. How you doing?
Man, it's all good. I'm glad to know that we in the land of the living since you done pastored me. The blood's still running warm in our veins. Our bed was not cooling board.
Well, this is gonna be fun. So we're not gonna waste any more time. We're gonna bring up our next guest. Is Jared Michael. He told me to correct his name. So it's Jared Michael, right? One of my favorite people. We're gonna bring him up next, and that we're just gonna all bring him up, and they can tell you about who they are, right? We have Mr. Jared Michael. Jared.
What's up? I'm too close. Okay, there we go.
Okay, we're gonna find the right thing. All right. Hi, Jared. How you feeling?
I am good. I'm excited to be on here with y'all today.
Oh, this is good. Me and Jared been trying to do this for
forever.
So this is good. And then lastly, we're gonna bring up the other lady of the hour, as they would say in church. All right. So we have Jessica Vann.
Hello.
Hi, Jessica.
Hello,
all right. I love Leah. She's gonna keep y'all laughing in the comments, okay? She says, and the covers wasn't our winding sheets. She's from New Orleans, so she's gonna keep us in the tick, all right? All right, so good evening, everybody. I'm so glad that everybody's here. Listen, if you're connected, please share. Some of the guests have connected their platforms. So if you're talking from their platforms, you're talking over here, we're all gonna have one big conversation tonight, okay? All right, so let's start with RJ. RJ, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. Hey everybody, my name is RJ Stevenson. I am a creative, and I've done a whole lot of work. So I'm on career like number 27, and I've been in Tampa from 2017 to recently I relocated back to North Carolina. I'm still in Tampa. So for those of you who are in Tampa watching this and heard me just say that, don't trip out. I'm still around. All right. But yeah, I'm a pastor. I pastor the Infinity Church and Global Network. And it's a wonderful day to be American, to just be alive, right? Yeah, that's enough.
It's alive. Jared, what about you?
What's up, everybody? I'm Jared Michael, and I am a graphic designer, brand strategist, creative director, all of the things. I always hope if you can tell me the dimensions, I can get it done for you. I've worked with a little bit of everybody in gospel, and so honored to be on here with my friend Yolanda. So thanks for having me. And
Absolutely.
in a nutshell, that's it.
That's it. What about you, Jessica?
Well, I am Jessica Vann. I am also a graphic designer, brand strategist, creative strategist, marketing guru, alto for the Lord, do a
Good
lot,
for Jesus.
media team, usher, whatever you need me to be. So I'm definitely also glad to be here. I'm glad to be on stage with some of the greats. Jared knows. We're talking to Jared.
Yes, we're going to have a really good conversation. Okay. So, again, these are like some brilliant minds for work that you may see done across the world. And you may not have known. A lot of times back in the day, we didn't know who did work, right? It was kind of like a extreme secret society. And, it's not really so much of a secret society anymore. And so a lot of times we didn't know who did the work. We didn't know who did the work for Kirk Franklin's album or who designed the artwork for TDJ's conference, or we just weren't aware, and not just in the church world either. A lot of times, like at major hip hop events or events like Black Music Honors, but we just weren't aware of those spaces. But the world has changed, and we all came together through a very special place, and that place has connected us with creatives all over the country, right? And so we've been able to see work before the world saw it. I remember one time I saw Brandy's brand new CD cover. I was like, oh my god, right? Or we've seen even work done for Warner Brothers, right? We've seen posters for like movies like Marvel, and just so much creativity we've been, if we want to say blessed to experience. How has that process been for you all? Anybody can go first.
What was the question? Yeah.
Well, the question is, we've been exposed to so much now.
Gotcha.
How has that been for you to be exposed to sometimes seeing the work before the world does?
I think it's for me. I think it's cool because, like you said, there's work that by the time the people see it's already old to us because we have friends in the industry, we have colleagues, and all different kind of things. And it's funny because there's a few projects I can't wait for them to post so I can repost it, knowing that it's coming soon. But it's cool. One of the things that I did, me and some friends were talking about a few weeks ago, is everybody was happier before we were exposed to everything. I feel like now I feel like sometimes to an extent we're too used to having access to everything, and it just takes all the special feelings out of it. But yeah, I like to be surprised along with the world. But it is cool having the little sneak peeks every now and then.
What about you, RJ?
So it can be highly intimidating at times, right? Because we see a lot of our colleagues' work, and then you go back and you like, hold on, let me look through my portfolio. Let me upgrade. Let me go ahead and share something so I don't look like I don't fell off. You know what I'm saying? I just dumped like 15 photos the other day just because I was like, hey, I know I ain't shared no work in a long time, but I'll be out here working. But then we know that also once you get to a certain type of work, you get NDAs and you really can't share like you want to share. And then you get clients who interested and they sort of choose the design that you felt like wanting the best design. And so you be like, this what you finna share, but it don't feel like it's my best work, so I ain't even interested in letting people know. You know what I'm saying? It gets interesting to sort of be on the inside, but then I like championing for other people. I've known and been connected to people for a long time that I've never met in person. You know what I'm saying? And then to finally meet, like I was at Creativerse a couple weeks ago. A lot of us met that had never met in real life. And like, oh, you're a real person. Oh, you're a real person too.
A real person.
So it's like, it's a thing. We be fanning on the background and then be trying to keep it all together and act like we ain't, but it's cool.
It's cool. What about you, Jess?
I have definitely fangirled in the room for sure. I've seen. I think that I agree with Jared in that once you start seeing it, other people's work frequently, it does kind of take away from it. But at the same time, I think I've just remained a fan of the art and a fan of creativity. So to see tour flyers or to see, things that even if everybody doesn't agree, I think that it's always good to kind of see what's trending or, what people's ideas are creatively, especially in that group for sure.
I agree with that. I think over the years, it's helped us all become better. Right. So I feel like, you can't tell the name of our special group, but I feel like, because it's a special group, but I feel like, I can always tell when I'm not, if you will, posting, because it feels like my work kind of tilts a different way. And I think it's important because we were really exposed to all this wonderful work, and it can be intimidating because you feel like, oh, maybe I need to go level up. Maybe this is not as good as it could be. Right. Because, sometimes you're giving the client just kind of what they ask for versus what it could be. Right. So let's say this, how did you start? Let's start with Jess. Like, how did you come into being a creative? And what does that really mean for you?
Well, a common name, I'm sure many creatives know, is Full Sail University. So I didn't finish. Don't get me wrong. I didn't finish. However, I was going to school for music business, and they give you a laptop. They give you a MacBook, and they give you all the software and everything you need. And so I had the full Adobe suite, and it was Photoshop 6, I think, is the one I started on.
Wow.
And so that was still in CD. So I said, well, I'm going to make good use of this. And so I went to YouTube University, and I learned and just have been learning ever since. So 12 years in, I think it's been pretty rewarding for sure.
Wow. What about you, Jared?
So the funny part is I actually went to school. Well, I think just like everybody probably in this group was doing stuff just because I was the creative person in the family who kind of knew their way around PowerPoint. It was up here designing stuff in PowerPoint and Microsoft Publisher and all these other things. And went to college was going to college for hospitality and tourism. And 2 years in, I was like, this ain't it. And started, at the time I was working for my high school, the high school that I went to after I graduated high school. And just started designing more shirts and more things there. And then I was walking in school one day, and I was like, I saw their projects, because they used to always display their projects. And I was like, oh, maybe that's something I should do. And did it. Saw my grandfather was he was in his 70s still going to school for different Photoshop things. So between him and my cousin, they were the two that really kind of won me over to change my career field to graphic design. And so since then, that's what I've been doing.
Wow. And RJ?
Well, I didn't go to school for design. How about that? Let's get that out there on the table. I was an economics major, man. And people in undergrad needed flyers for their parties. And I just happened to have worked in the Minority Student Affairs office. And so I saw that as a way for me to hustle on the back end. And I refused to use Photoshop forever. Let me see. I started on Publisher. I remember when Microsoft Publisher allowed you to make PNGs for the first time. And then I remember when they had that tool that would cut the background out. That was like epic. But I started using this tool called Microsoft Digital Image Pro 10. That's like not even in print no more, because at the time it was like Microsoft was trying to compete with everybody else, and it was my way of not having to use Photoshop ever, because the layers and palettes back then were just, they were not nice. You know, it was just intimidating. So finally, my PC crashed, and thanks, Uncle Marvin. My PC crashed, and I couldn't get a copy of that software no more. And so I went to something we used to use called Pirate Bay, and found me a good old. Hey, I'm gonna tell the truth. I found me a good old copy of Photoshop prior to the CS series, and then I bought it so I could be legit. And then I've been on this road ever since. That's
wow. So I'll tell my own story, right? Like I can't just be the person talking on interview, but I like RJ actually. It's like it's like everybody's parts actually. So I went to school, like just I didn't finish. I'm not proud of that actually, because but I think when you're a creative, part of my story is that I was in special education all the way till I was in college, and I should have never been there, right? But the thing is that I've learned as I've become an adult. I take that back. Maybe I should have been there so I can help somebody else. So I take that back. I feel like creatives learn differently, right? We don't hear the same. We don't receive the same. When I went to Elton's conference, the level of understanding I came away with, that creatives actually, and this, I say this and y'all can agree, disagree. Sometimes you have to slow it down, not because we're not intelligent, but because we process differently. So when you say, and for me and most of us, music is involved in our life. You know, when you sing it, you play it for some reason, it just comes across differently. But I'll be in church like, say that again. The what? Oh, and then when you say it again, it's like my brain starts to paint a picture. Oh, and he went, oh, right. So I learned when we were in the creative conference, as this particular guest was talking, I learned, and I respectfully say, I think he was a little frustrated because we feel like people aren't getting it. But I learned that people are processing. And so they're processing this information. I think me as a creative, school was difficult because you're expecting everybody to process the same way. And we don't process the same way, right? We all four of us are creatives, but we all process different. But the commonality is that creatives process different. We see colors different. We see images different. I do best when talking. When you talk the information out, the more you talk, the more I can see. The more, and everybody processes different. So my story is I did not finish. I was frustrated with the process. How to flow through this information was tough for me. And then, like RJ, there was a need, and I believe that, you know, since we're all God kids, I can say it like this: I feel the need. I had this desire to do graphics, and it just came, and it just kept flowing like that. And then I became part of the special group, and I got better. Right, I went to the school of our special group, and I became better and better and better and better and better. But I also worked hard. Now, because we're going to talk about that too, right? So it wasn't like you just magically got better, right? I started with Photoshop point something, and like you, which I'm not proud of, you know, you find the little free Photoshop online. Photoshop, you could not do it by the subscription then. You had to buy the whole suite, which was extremely expensive. So yeah, we've all, this is going to be a great conversation because we've all, you know, been through these hills and mountains and valleys, and it's just been an extraordinary experience. So let's fast forward a little bit. How have you said Photoshop, right? We're all like part of the Adobe creative space. RJ, for people who may not know, like, what is Adobe? Can you kind of explain like what Adobe is?
Wow. Okay. So Adobe is a system of softwares that Photoshop was initially designed to edit digital photography.
Mm-hmm.
We just learned a different application of it that helps us do nice flyers, right? Um, Premiere is a video editing software. Audition is a music production software. Illustrator is Adobe's version of Microsoft Publisher. I think everybody should be able to make that connection. But because they're all in the Adobe like publishing platform or the creative platform, they all sort of intersync. So if you're using InDesign to do a desktop publishing and you edited your image in Photoshop, you can pull a Photoshop image over to InDesign and it just works. You can pull a Photoshop image over to Premiere in your video image and it just works. So Adobe has become this suite of industry standard type software that empowers creatives to be creative.
So let me tell you why I know you like this girl. Just put me on the stop. Me tell you why. First of all, you explained it better than yeah. So first of all, you explained it better than I would, right? But I asked you because of where we are, right? So I want to jump into this because I don't know how long this conversation is going to go, but I want to jump into this shift, right? When I was thinking about what can I talk about, and so I think where me and Jared talk about this like every day is every other day. How the shift has come, right? And we're in this space that's a little weird, and we feel some kind of way about certain applications. And so when you're saying, I'm say this first. Shout out to the woman who created Canva, right? I don't want to bash Canva space because what she actually did was very genius, right? I mean, that cannot be denied, right? People cannot like McDonald's, but McDonald's was created by the McDonald's brothers, and in a lot of ways, it was genius, right? So I don't want to take away from what she did. Here's the caveat: what you just said in Adobe cannot happen with Canva, right? So there are limitations. So I don't want to have a Canva bash space, but I do want to enlighten people. Right? So I'm gonna put this to Jared, and Jared doesn't plan to this, but Jared enlightened me about something one day about Canva that I did not know, right? And he talked about, I'm gonna give him like what is she talking about? But one day we were talking about book covers, and he enlightened me that actually, if you create your book cover in Canva, it doesn't necessarily fully belong to you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, and I'm always, Yolanda knows I'm gonna find out the backstory of stuff and how things work. And I was watching I think I was on TikTok one day actually, and they were talking about all the things that you can't do with Canva as a consumer. And one of them is if you have a logo out of Canva, you can't trademark it. You can't copyright it because most of the things are based off of templates that are kind of default pieces and things that other people have created in fonts that other people have created. They have the rights of. People are using them to create something, and now you can't trademark your logo. So now you have this company who may have been going for 5 to 10 years. And you're like, oh, I want to trademark my logo and I want to trademark all these things. And you get to, I guess, submitting your trademark paperwork and they're not going to let you do it because you don't own the rights to that. Canva does. Same thing with book covers, album covers, all of these things. You can do it, but you have no legal protection by it. And as a business and in this world, that's not a good thing to do, or it's not a good, easy place to be in. So that's the quick nutshell of all of that.
Jess, how do you feel about the effects of Canva?
Well, no, I am definitely an advocate for convenience if you can, but I'm also a branding strategist, and in branding, you have to define. I think the design aspect is not the only thing that comprises a brand. No, we know that. However, if you were to personify a brand, it's your clothes, and so you're going over to, let's say, Goodwill, right, to buy someone else's clothes. When of course you can make it your own style, but you could have couture. If you go to a graphic designer, have them help you strategize your colors, your logo, etc. And just on top of that, he's talking about the legal side of it. Why put up all that effort only to not even be able to legally own your clothes? That is like you renting clothes. What is that? What is that subscription? It's like that. And so essentially, I feel like anybody that is using Canva, I feel like if you feel like it's for the convenience sake, because we're often busy as graphic designers, go to a graphic designer to get blanks, get all your elements, all of that stuff, and then go into Canva and use it that way. Because you can upload your fonts, you can upload all of that stuff to Canva if it helps you for the sake of convenience. Other than that, why are you trying to do the thing that's not your job? You are better off paying what it is worth. Instead, you'll be paying in the long run, not trying to do it yourself, or trying to, then you'd have to do it all over again anyway. So again, Canva is good for convenience sake, but as far as branding and establishing your brand and your look, you need to have someone do that custom.
So here's a good thought, right? We're gonna have some real conversation, and whenever y'all got to duck out, you can duck out. And so I know someone will say, I don't have that much time, right? I don't have the time. Y'all may have seen this running ad that says, this is what the designer created and this is what AI created. And everybody's like, yay, until you get to a printer or a professional, what I call, maybe like an old school professional printer, which they still exist. And they say, I need the vector file. And AI doesn't produce that. So then what do? Canva, from what I know, there's no shade again. Canva, you let it work for you, but there are limitations. So what happens when Canva doesn't do that, right? You say, Yolanda, I don't need a logo. I need a CD cover. Okay, cool. So what happens when which did happen to me, I'll tell my own story. Hire Collins' third round CD. I did it the right way, right? I did the artwork. It was the right way it was supposed to be set up. I did it in Photoshop. Everything was fine. And then they called and they said, we need all of this executed or exported through InDesign. And I'll be honest to say InDesign is not on top of my list, right? And I was like, what? So I had to go back. And I was calling Jared like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Like, I should have called you. So I had to go back and lay out the whole thing again in InDesign. You say, well, you're a designer, that's not a big deal. But what if I had done it in Canva? There would have been absolutely positively no way to execute it that way. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I use Canva. Let me tell you the truth. I do use Canva. I use Canva for things like things in stories, like maybe the scripture of the day, things like that may not require anything large to be exported. But in my personal opinion, it does have limitations, right? And so, like Jared said, like Jess, like RJ, the problem is when you run into things that require higher quality. When you run into, you're trying to trademark it, and we saw several people, y'all may not have seen it in the world, but we saw several people get sued for copyright infringement, even down to a font. Someone got sued during the pandemic because they said, no, that's my font and you must pay for it. So it's just important, like if you're a business, if you're a church, if whatever you may be, that you know these things. You may not know it all, but find someone who does, right? Contact someone who does. I may be your person. I may not. Jess may be your person. Jared or, Jessica, they may be your person, but just find someone who knows the information so you don't get tied up in something that you may not be able to get out of later. Any other thoughts about that?
So I want to put this disclaimer out there when it comes to Canva. Us as designers, we don't hate Canva. It to me, the equivalent is like saying, "Hey, there's an issue with my car. All the tools are at Home Depot or wherever. I'm gonna go and buy all the tools and do it myself," not realizing that there's limitation to my knowledge of how to do that. So I'm just gonna go out and pay the person who went to school for it and knows the details and ins and outs on how to fix the car versus me trying to figure it out myself. That's all we're saying. I know some people think that we hate Canva. No, it is. It's a tool that is easily available for everybody. It's just like I said, somebody who doesn't know music, you're not going to go to them to create you music for your church or for your single or whatever. And so the same thing applies with graphic design and all of that. So
yes. So let me touch on the music part one more time, and Jess can touch on this too because we all do graphics, right? But Jess is definitely involved heavily in the music industry. Here's where the problem lies: is when you have to export it for several different ports, for several different platforms. So you may say, well, I just need the CD cover. Well, the problem is when Spotify says they need it in X, Y, and Z size. And then this company says they need it in X, Y, and Z size. And this company says they need it in X, Y, Z size. And you might not think it's a big deal, right? Because you just exported you just put out the 3,000 by 3,000, right? You think like you're all good. But the problem is every platform is different. And every platform, I'm not bashing down on anybody. I really want people to be more educated so that way you don't run into bumps. RJ?
What I say is it's sort of like the age of disruption, right?
Yeah.
And that sort of comes through because when Photoshop was your only option, if you were going to be serious in the industry, that's all you had. And so now that something like Canva comes about, it allows the general consumer to sort of engage in the creative process. But the only reason I get upset with Canva is when someone abuses it. Sort of like when somebody starts doing $25 flyers for Canva and competes in a market that they're not educated to compete in, right? But it's not only happening in design. I'm also in music and production as well, right? And so it happens in filmmaking, right? Wow. I got my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, and I'm excited because now I'm finna shoot cinematic to the world. And then I get a project and they send me their requirements and they want to be on Netflix. And Netflix got every camera in America on the list but mine. And I done paid for my camera, rigged it out, got the cages, got everybody set to go. And now I got to go back and find another camera list because the industry has said that this camera that I'm using does not qualify to be legit on Netflix, right? And some people might say, what's the big deal about Netflix? Well, that's coin. You know what I'm saying? Like that's coin. You know what I'm saying? You got Amazon Prime, you got your YouTubing, but I'm trying to get to the good money, right? I got kids. And so it happens that way to keep the price points up. It happens that way to keep the normal budget amount in the industry at a standard level. And so because of that, I sort of appreciate that process. Now for my friends who use Canva, I don't mind them using Canva, right? But in the end, I'm not upset. Go to the other person. You're going to end up coming back round to me to fix the mess that you made over there while you was figuring out. But I'm glad you figured it out with them so that when you come back to me to get it done right, you already have the answer, right? It's sort of it happened in the music industry with Fruity Loops. I mean, I remember when Soulja Boy did Soulja Boy Tell 'Em on the PlayStation, and I was like, no, Pro Tools. Hold on, how did you skip Pro Tools? How were you on BET with a PlayStation music. I mean, it's going to continue happening as the industry continues, but it also provides a professional. It widens the gap. So I said the other day, what do we do with that gap? It means that we increase our prices to balance out the supply and demand curve. I mean, and that's just what the industry does.
Absolutely. I'm gonna put on Walter, one of our fellow creatives. He says, even as we speak, Canva and other technology platforms are evolving at the speed of demand of this new market and creators economy. Sometimes we as designers or creatives can act like boomers trying to hold on to the old way. Comments?
It's funny because my answer goes with that and what RJ was saying. And truth be told, as a creative is going to create somebody who's just a genius in art. They can use Poster My Wall, they can use Canva, they can use Photoshop, and they're going to create amazing work. They can use an iPhone, they can use an iPad to take video, and it's going to be amazing regardless. So I think that right there is a part that some people don't realize. However, on the other hand, you shouldn't be out here shooting weddings on an iPhone and charging $7,000 for it. And if you do, it better look cinematic. But yeah, I think as designers, the trends are ever evolving. What consumers want is ever evolving, and we've got to grow with that along with new tools and be open-minded to new things. And I always say, look into what Hollywood is doing, not each other is doing. I know that's
so. Jared, based on what you just said, right? We're having, like, we as creators, we're always having these conversations, but in real life, how do we evolve? Do we start offering? How do we go to the next thing? Do we come up with a platform or an app? Do we start offering our services through Canva? What do you suggest? As you're a little bit younger than some of the rest of us, right? So what do you suggest? And that's not bad because he's a genius. But what do you suggest we do to actually evolve?
One of the things that I always pay attention to for me and my business and let's just say my music artist is I don't look at, especially because a lot of my clientele right now is in gospel. And so I don't look at what other gospel artists are doing to market them. I look at what the Rihannas are doing, the Beyoncés are doing. And of course, I'm not copying theirs, but I'm looking at, okay, when they're introducing a product, they do X, Y, and Z. Okay, so now we need to take what worked for this and apply that to my client. Also realizing that they don't have the following, they don't have the budgets, they don't have certain things and certain resources. So you've got to see, I think, the bigger picture. At the end of the day, when they win, we win. Because they get booked for more. I mean, we get booked for more. When they get more funding, we get more funding. So I think with that being said, we've got to look elsewhere and broaden our knowledge intake on design, on watching movies. That's something I've never been a TV person for real. So even now, for me, I'm making myself watch more TV to help me out creatively to see how Netflix markets their shows, how Prime Video markets their shows and the movie posters and all of those things. So I just think we've got to look in different places than at other churches say, oh, this person did this person did that. No, we just got to broaden the horizon a little bit more.
This is good. I'm going to send something else Walter said. He said, RJ said it disruptive. The industry is getting cheaper because the demand is growing faster than they can supply. RJ, what do you feel about that?
So I love that he put cheaper in quotes, right? Because that word is very subjective, right? Does that mean cheaper because of price point or cheaper because of quality, right? And so when you look at what the industry is doing, we know how long it takes to edit some film. And we know where that film came from, right? And so when we see that the NBA at halftime is putting up all these highlights about what happened, and then Pastor X says that at the end of the night of revival or convocation, why can't you put up a reel at the end of service with all the reviews? And I say, absolutely, I can. What I cannot do is color grade. what I cannot do is go through titling and all that kind of stuff. I can't go through and sift through 500 photos that was taken tonight and figure out which ones to pull out. And so what do? I put my big body camera down to the side and give them iPhone, because if they could afford what they were really asking me for, then we would have a whole truck outside and I would have a whole separate team running instant replay. And then the whole separate team would be able to be packaging that review. But so what we've done is we've tried our best to get the best out of what we got for as little as we possibly can, which again skews the supply and demand curve to the south. But it also means that when you ask me to do some real work, it's going to cost you more. So I don't mind that there's somebody in my city that'll give you a $25 flyer. That just means when you come back to me, understand the gap just got larger, because I would prefer to take you on as a branding client and do all your work with quality. But if you want to go over there, fine, get your one off over there. But when you're ready to do some real work, you know where to find me. And the other thing is, at some point you got to take yourself seriously. That comes where you're a business, a designer, whatever. We know people who have businesses but have never filed for EIN. Okay, they're still a business. They're still making their money on the side. But at the end of the day, you flipping Cash Apps, you flipping Venmos and all that kind of stuff. But it's like when you go back to apply for a business loan, what's your financial track record? It's that same thing that qualifies when it comes to anything you do in business. We know the ones that are going to take themselves seriously, and we know the ones that are not. We know the ones that are not going to get their vocals done in Pro Tools. They're going to get them done over there at Moo House with a couple of egg crates around in the corner and a microphone, you know what I'm saying, like Hustle and Flow. Yeah, you can record some great vocals like that, and they may be amazing. But when I take it to mastering and mixing, it's going to sound like hot garbage, and you have to come back to a studio. So it's just quality is quality.
Quality is quality. Shout out to Mr. Larry Whitfield. So honored to have you here. If you music head, gospel industry, he is the brother of the late Thomas Whitfield. So very honored to have you here, sir. He said, do you all think the technology people do on their phones will eventually wipe digital cameras? My daughter can do so much on her phone. Phones definitely is no longer for calling.
I think it'll only matter to those who don't care. To those who don't care about quality. I know that sounds so frank, but I'm so sorry. But it only matters to the people who are okay with shooting things on their phone. For me, if I'm shooting a commercial, I want the crispness of a videographer, cinematographer, and proper lighting and proper color grading and all those things. So for me, yes, it would matter for somebody of my liking. But for some people, if some people are okay with shooting commercials and ads and reels on their cell phones or whatever, that works for them. But I don't think that it'll completely wipe it out, because there's still people who desire a little bit better quality than that. So
I think it just goes back to what RJ is saying about quality. I also think just in the conversation, is the sum total of it is this. If you want just product, if you want to be a commodity, then you'll do the bare minimum. If you want to be a lasting brand, if you want to have space in someone's mind, if you want to be a ba-da-ba-ba-ba, and you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you'll pay. You will take it seriously. You will go to a professional that can take you from A to Z. You will invest in yourselves. If you remember back in the day, music videos were $1 million budgets, big, huge cinematic budgets. And now even artists that we grew up with seem like everything looks cheap. And there was an industry standard, and that's what Photoshop is. That's what Adobe is. Adobe is a Sony Red. Canva is iPhone. Okay. Like if you really, and here's the other part. There, like you said, there are people that just have that eye. There's somebody I follow on Facebook that she's a Canva expert, amazing. But it's because she has a design eye. And if you don't have that, you're not gonna ever, no matter how many attempts, how many classes you buy, you're not gonna ever get it like that. So the point of it, the point of the matter is if you respect yourself and your business and your brand enough, you will invest and you will pay
Good.
the rate that at what level you want to be. And sometimes you got to be there before you're actually there. So you got to look professional. You have to have that quality. Otherwise, people won't take you seriously.
People won't take you serious. This is really, really good. I'm gonna come to you and say this comment. Mr. Michael Chandler, he says most people don't see it as we see it. So they don't care about the quality of the flyer or the product. That this makes Canva a big winner. Shout out to Marquise Collins, a fellow entrepreneur, creative. Shout out to Jonathan Johnson, who just released his brand new project. He says, "Hey, I came over here from Facebook Pentecostal and a few more members." Thank you for the chuckle. Walter says, "This is a good convo." Thank you so much, Walter. Mr. Collins says, "At the end of the day, you get what you pay for, and you must pay for quality. With me, I'm going to save and get what I want." Jonathan says, "Lord, this is such a good conversation, and it's a needed conversation." RJ?
So here's the hypocrisy of it all. Because you see me with my big camera rig, if I walked in your spot with an iPhone, would you be upset with me because I brought an iPhone? Because what I'm bringing is not just a camera, but a skill set, right? I know lighting, I know audio. I'm going to put a device on the back of my iPhone that will allow me to record in 120 frames per second in ProRes, right? My iPhone quality not going to be like your daughters or your cousins or your little niece and them. You know what I'm saying? They're going to go to CapCut, and that's fine. CapCut is amazing. It's quick. It gets to the point, right? But I do a lot of AVA installations too, right? And I tell some people, like, why would you want me to get you a lower grade camera when in your house you have a 4K television? Now, if you got a 4K television in your house, but your cameras are still standard definition, all you ever gonna see is standard definition. If you want to upgrade your quality, then you're gonna have to upgrade your quality, and you can't do that with an iPhone. Your Canva design might be nice. You might have found a nice template. God bless you. You might even start your Canva design from a blank page. But at the end of the day, when you get ready to export for that magazine cover that you just excited about because you got that contract and don't even have a 1099 or W9, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what that is, but you're a designer. Go right ahead. When you export it and you send that to the printer, you can get a phone call. And it's going to be an interesting phone call. Because they might ask you for your Pantone colors. You know what I'm saying? They may ask you to export your fonts as vectors. And it just, the tool itself and the tool set just don't do everything.
It does not. Walter, you hanging out with us, ain't you, man? Walter says companies are now listening to the consumer. This is very true, more than ever, and they're leaning on influencers to fill that price gap because the phone is the new TV. The standard quality has changed. Another comment from Mr. Larry Whitfield. He says, "You all are very skilled at what you do. Thank you, but many can't tell. Therefore, they go with what they think is quality. How do we change that? Or how do you change that?"
I think one thing for me that I always see with people is one of my friends has debated me up and down that people don't care how bad his graphics are. They always gonna tune in. And my thing is always, people don't know until you give them better. And people don't know when they're doing their own things on Canva or in Photoshop or whatever. A non-designer can make the best of software look trash. when it's the weirdest thing, and so I forgot where I was going with that. But anyways, that's that creative brain for you. It's gonna pop back in my mind. Oh, the how do we get people to think? People are literally, it's a thing where it's like they don't know that there is better out there until somebody like us comes together and gives them top-notch quality. And at that point, they're like, oh, so now they start thinking better because they're starting to see better. And that's the thing that I'm sitting there working on a project now with videographers, and it's like, okay, this videographer is great, but it doesn't give me the movie quality that I'm looking for. It doesn't make them bad. It's just not what I'm looking for this project. And so it's just the thing with me, when you know better, you do better. And as your eye grows, you start to do better. You start to see things differently.
Jess?
I go by a saying that I'm sure we've all heard: fast, cheap, good. Pick two. You can't get all three. So fast and cheap is not going to be good. Fast and good is not going to be cheap. Cheap and good is not going to be fast. So you got to pick two and decide what you want. Now, the other part is this. Even I feel like most creatives, given the time, can with little make much. If you're a creative, I feel like that's just something easy for us to do, is producing, right? So if you know you have to have something, if you have an event coming up, give yourself and your creator some time so that you can map it out. It's not just a flyer. It's not just you have creative control. Sometimes it's just easy if you give me a bulleted list of what you want to see, and then let me use my creativity from there.
Yes,
but I feel like that is another part, is investing in time, investing in yourself enough to give yourself time to promote, the time to endorse, or whatever you need so that it's quality. Because even with, like I said, you can use someone that's not so great, but give them the time to put something at least decent out. So
some of these questions, but I want to go back to what you said in just a second. L10 said, I'm pushing to bring $1,000 minimum to the table with branding. And amen. Miss Denise Baker. Hi, Miss Denise. She says, amen for quality, because quality of a mess unable to produce professionalism. There's a question from Miss Jacqueline. She said, when you're using Canva as a regular user, not a business owner, are you saying we can't print that out? If not, can we at least distribute it online? RJ?
I believe you can print it out as a regular user. When it gets to distributing online, it's all about intellectual property and copywriting. Back in the day before COVID, we could even play copywritten music on Facebook. COVID happens, copywritten music will take you up out of here if you got enough viewers on your church stuff for people to care about it. It's a matter of, well, one, how's your integrity? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a part of this. Your character and integrity says that, you should follow the law. If you can distribute it, just like even us as designers, if I go to a place where we go to get fonts and I download a font, and you know how I'm not dropping like what we, you know what I'm saying? If I go there and I get a font and I download the font because I want my client to see it, before I turn that in as a final project, as a commercial project, I should have purchased that font. But whatever the price is, that should be a part of my price packaging, right?
That's good.
Okay. Well, now I can legitimately use this font because I have a license to use it. All right. If I'm producing some video, I pay the money to subscribe to Storyblocks or wherever else I get my, or wherever else I get my stuff from. Because I do that, I'm legitimate as a designer, as a producer. I'm paying that money. That's some of the reasons why our fees have to be higher, because we do this as a profession. I'm a pastor. I don't get my sermons off of Google. Chat GPT don't preach for me. And so because of that, when I come to your situation, you want to hear a word from God, you want me to spend the time in my craft to get what you want authentically. And it's just, why would you want watered down, you know what I'm saying? You don't want a watered down result. And as a designer, I refuse to waver in my character for my company. So that's just sort of where it is.
So I'm gonna give quite a few questions, and I want to answer everybody's questions because I'm excited that people are asking. So let me give you the simplified answer, Miss Jacqueline, because you may say, I just want to print out that I'm doing a little cupcake sale. So here's the thing: can you print it? Yes. Here's when you may run into trouble: is when you are doing a book about how to have a cupcake sale. And you're and Jared and the other guys can tell me if I'm wrong or right. And you're distributing that, right? And so you don't have the license for the font that says how to have a cupcake sale in this book. And you got the font and you got the photo, and they can tell me if I'm wrong because my stomach is twirling a little bit, so I may be a little wrong. And then you so you get the font from, you do it all in Canva, right? So you don't have a license for the font, you didn't purchase it, and you don't have a license for the image either. This is where, in my opinion, you run into a problem. RJ?
Take it deeper. The font type name in Canva ain't even a real name for the font type. So a lot of times, if you want to go back and buy the license for the font type, as a non-designer, as a non-business professional, you don't even know how to go and find it. You know what I'm saying? So that skill base and that knowledge base is what separates professionals from people who, I remember back in the day, man, we had Border Brun print shop, and we was printing birthday cards off of our nieces and nephews and stuff, and it was fun. But I couldn't go sell that on somebody's shelf. That's once you start collecting money for it, you have a whole nother level of concern.
Even further than that, because typically the way people think is before we get to the book, we're getting aprons printed and we're getting all these things. We've created the Facebook page for Cupcakes by Tisha, and now we're getting labels and stuff printed, right? And the logo we created in Canva, that's not your logo. You can't get it trademarked. And even that, when you go to get it printed for your aprons, 9 times out of 10, they're going to sublimate it. You need certain files to get it sublimated. You need certain files to get it, your boxes printed. You need certain files for all these things. And you need a PNG file to go on your promo videos. So now there's a white box behind your logo on all your videos or on your photos. And that's one of those other things that just separate the people who are just getting by versus the professional. You'll never see Walmart with the white box behind their logo on a commercial. You'll never see BET or anything in the professional world. And that's just one of those things that lets me know as a designer and consumer how serious somebody is about their business. She said, so can we send it to other people even if they're not? Oh, absolutely. You can print it. You can do all that thing. You just can't protect it.
There it is. Because I don't want to freak anybody out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because my stomach's a little twirling. So listen, I don't want to freak you out. And this is not to say that you can't do the book, you can't do the flyer, you can't do the event. This is not to say that you may say, listen, I really want to jump out on faith, and I want to teach people how to have a cupcake. I'm just using this term, right? I want to teach people how to have a cupcake sale because it works for me. It's not to say you can't do it. Maybe the thought is when you get ready to jump higher, this is when you need to pull somebody in. All right. So it was working when you were just doing cupcakes at church, right? And you have this famous, lemonade cupcake that you got passed down from your grandmother, and you've been selling the cupcakes at church, and it is working, right? And now you're saying, man, I really want to step. I think to me, this is because I don't want to freak anybody out. And I'm like, I can't do it now. No, but I think when you get ready to step up, this is when you need to hire a professional. Because before we didn't have Canva and stuff like that. That wasn't a part of our lives. And this is not the attack against Canva because there are other apps outside of Canva.
Absolutely.
But if you selling your cupcakes at the bake sale and you saying they're made from scratch, but I know what Betty Crocker box that came out of. Like,
That's
why
literally
you?
that. That's literally that.
It's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. It's not yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, the least you could do is add a little splash or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, add enough to it to make it different.
Make
But
it yours.
yeah, make it yours.
I'll put this comment from Jonathan Johnson. He says, "Listen, I was humbled a couple years ago and had to train and go back to the drawing board and start fresh when it comes to design. You do, or you all have the eye, but I really started, or is he saying you do have to have the eye? I'm sorry, but I really started paying attention to what I was missing. If you want to know what you're doing wrong, pay attention to who's doing it right."
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
We can take that a step further. Everybody who has the eye for it ain't meant to do it.
True.
No.
Everybody who can sing ain't meant to have an album.
No.
Everybody who can preach a little bit ain't meant to have a conference.
No.
So,
Or a church.
Or a
that
church.
part too. But I'm done. I'm not being shady no more.
Elton says, truly, there is a world out here that most faith-based designers haven't reached over into. Most do Hollywood-style graphics and don't know they are supposed to get paid more than they get for gas money. Well, we got to come back to that.
Because that speaks to hustle mentality. That's
Absolutely.
that all even the can I just do this in Canva real quick? That speaks to mentality and how we structure business and how we believe business is supposed to go. We're always thinking, well, let me raise the money quick and then I can move from there. But sometimes you got to go in it with the plan and the strategy before you get to, the money exchange. And so I think that definitely speaks to that is a cultural conversation altogether.
RJ?
And I don't really care what people think about what I say, so I just say what I say and talk about what I talk about, right? But at a certain point in your design career, you sort of start trying not to do so much church stuff because you realize that, unfortunately, the place where our gifts, talents, and skills should be appreciated the most is the place where our gifts, talents, and skills are prostituted the most and unappreciated the most and pushed to the side the most. And so it's unfortunate because most of us as creators really want to do our best work for God, but them other people will pay us right and we can't live spam. I don't want to eat spam. Y'all want to go to the expensive restaurants at the church, and I want to go with you, but I can't do that making nickels off these flyers, man. Like, you told me that my flyer design cost too much, but I saw what you walked in here with on your feet. I saw that you wanted an LED screen behind the pulpit, and I know how much that costs. But you want the screen, you don't want to pay for the design, and that's a part of why a lot of us sort of stage left and stage right and be hitting the crossover on church folks sometimes, because it's the money out here in the industry is a whole lot better for you to live on. Praise the Lord. I just come to church with Jesus in no kind of way.
Yeah, so I want to answer this question. Walter says it's all subjective because Joe Ragnan is proof. People don't care about the quality of presentation, but more so the quality of the real product, which is a conversation. Now, Mr. Larry Whitfield says something that's really good. He said you all need to do some type of visual show that people will understand your language. Sometimes without a visual, the language is foreign. I respect that. Kind of like a show and tell back in the day. Yeah, because that's why I wanted to, kind of simplify the question or simplify the answer, because it may feel like, well, I don't know what a license is or what's a font, and it's hard when you, again, I don't want to take away from that space because maybe you are trying to recreate your grandmother's recipe and it's working, and you're like, maybe because I always have a heart, like most people know me. I have a really big heart for the faith-based community because that's where I started. And so what I'm learning to is also to give grace, because what I'm learning constantly is some people just don't know. right? And they RJ may say, Yolanda, that's not true. But so here's why I say that. And y'all may say this is not true, but here's what I say. The truth is, in my opinion, the faith-based community in particularly, having a graphic designer was foreign because when the big events happened for the church, it was outsourced. At least that's my experience, right? Because the church secretary, Miss Sally, she did the bulletin, right? That's how it happened. And so while we're not necessarily in that day, we all know that unfortunately sometimes the faith-based community, particularly the Black faith community, is still a couple years back. We saw it really happen during the pandemic, where we probably all had conversations with our prospective people and said, you need to upgrade this, you need to upgrade that before the pandemic happened. The pandemic happened, and it's like, yeah, we were telling you 5 years ago to start streaming. We were telling you this many years ago to do this, and now it's all coming down on everybody's head. So I'm always a person that kind of gets grace because I know, while everybody's had some tough experiences, as I have too, there are some people who will pay the dollar. They will like, this is what you're charging? It's fine. I'm not going to argue with you about that because they understand this is what I need to get it done. So I just always want to give some grace that way. Mr. Whitfield always also said, I believe a show and tell type show will help people understand. He said, I love this. Walter said, yeah, licensing is something we don't talk about, but all of these sites with assets tell you what you can do with them. Also, there was another question. Ms. Jacqueline, I think Jared answered her question. Chandler, he says, man, I wish I was there more regular people. I'm sorry. Man, I wish there were more regular people, and to hear this, the regular clients do not think or know about this stuff. So how do in all that we're saying, how do we help people get better?
You gotta want to be better.
You believe that?
One thing that Jessica said earlier is a lot of it is cultural issues. I'm gonna say it. Black people, we are a people of hop in there and get it done, making it work. When it's business on the line, we're not trying to make it work. We're trying to get our bills paid. So there are still structures in place. No, I'm not okay with you cash apping me $5,000 for this project. I'm gonna send you this invoice, and you need to follow it. No, I can't brand your whole conference overnight because you waited until the last minute to do it. If you're paying somebody's full honorarium for your conference and you're paying them $6,000 just for a deposit, but you want to come here and pay me $50 for a flyer that you need in less than 24 hours, it doesn't work that way. So I always tell people you've got to put plans in place, and that's for anything. It's way beyond our day-to-day things. Like I said, we're not people of get it together. I personally don't work best in rush work anymore. I used to be able to do it. Now I got too many things. I'm older now. I know this is so young for something. I got 29-year-old people problems. I'm not 18-year-old doing this no more. So I got way more things going day to day. So, it's just like, it's so many different aspects of different things I can come up around this. But like I said, you just got to plan ahead and talk to your creative, see what they need versus what you need, so they can give you the best product.
I want to throw it right.
If you know convocation is June every year.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
If your convocation is from the 17th through the 21st, whatever, on the 22nd, let me start working on next year, or at least give me some time. Like, the thing is we, like you said, I got to pay the $5,000 for a speaker just for deposit. Also, I got to pay for a ticket for an honorary ticket for you, for your armor bearer. Got to make sure you have your nice basket in your hotel room, and all of this stuff is rolled out. But it doesn't matter if I've seen people say, if your flyer looks like this, and that, I'm not coming because I already know the shenanigans.
Not coming.
But we are the thing that makes it. And then here's the other part, because we're gonna add musicians to it too, since Walter said it. That's why is it that these things that help the service flow and look and appeal to an audience, why are these things treated like the least important thing? And even in support of the speaker, like, I don't understand why we're treated as, oh, you just, go over there, you're just the help. But we're the thing that makes it go. Like, I know Matthew Stevenson's branding versus the
Yeah.
Bishop Shear's branding, because even if it's the same designer in some points, because they have taken the time to differentiate themselves. Why is it that we consider these things to be the most important thing, but others don't? And like you said, I understand that, somebody's church secretary was doing the flyers and, Word. I know somebody was doing flyers in Word, okay? But now it's important. If you, especially post pandemic, it is important to have a nice presentation if you are trying to retain people. People say it's not about that. It's absolutely about that.
Yep. It
We're
matters.
talking about talents, right? And I know this is talents. I believe was money in this situation. But if you're hiding your talents, you're not. You're just as bad. You're just as bad. When I mean what I mean by that is you don't put your best foot forward. You don't present to the Lord your best. You're just as bad as, was it the Abel, Cain, one of them brothers. You're just as bad. You have to
Okay.
present your best, and that's, you pay the money. You do what you have to do to be to present a well presentation, because you can be a storefront, but your presentation far supersedes it. Like I said, look like where you want to go.
Yes, ma'am. I want to throw out these things while RJ is getting ready to answer the question. Shout out to Pastor Larry Thomas, a really, really great pastor, great guy in the Denver area. So I'm gonna throw out these things while he said, can you do church and corporate work? There's another thought. Walter says something really good. He said, which he's talking about how we're still behind, right? Which bothers me because we've never been behind at no point in history. We're supposed to be um, dedicating the pace for the world, not reacting to what they are doing. Thank you, Pastor Thomas. Um, Mr. Larry Whitfield says, honestly, I think it was the pandemic that caused people to settle with the stuff you see. Remember, there were no appointments, consultations, none of that. Those were the times when quality was explained and understood. Walter says, from a wedding photographer standpoint, we got called last minute, though we outlined the dress, cake, and the flowers. Shout out to Claude Hamilton. Blessing to each of you designers. We love you all. Love you back. So go ahead, RJ.
So another point of this conversation is this. This is a small community. Like, eventually, we as designers, we know each other's work because each of us has done our due diligence to develop our own styles, right? So when you call and I see you call me and ask me to do a flyer, I probably already have the speaker's photos.
Yep.
I probably already did a few designs with them in it this year anyway, right? But I'm gonna give you a price that's not just a one-off price because I'm trying to take what you're doing to the next level. I'm trying to get you to where you're trying to go. I'm trying to do retractable banners. I'm trying to do this and that and your branded lower thirds and all that kind of stuff, right? But then when you go back to Dinky and you upset because we see that white highlight around your cutout, like, don't come back to me to ask me to fix that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's best to build a relationship with the designer and let us walk you towards a brand, because a brand is not a social media page. A brand is not a logo. A brand is not like a lot of people think that a brand is the low level things that you just gotta have, and that's not it. It's a, do you have a media guide? Like, what size should your font be? You know, like, what proportion should your logo be on when it's on the screen? You know, it's like there are just things that a designer or a brand agent or whatever you want to call yourself these days will know because this is what we do on a daily basis. This is what we study, like the industry, right? And can you do church and corporate? You better. I mean, if you're gonna pay that light bill, because some folks think Jesus paid it all, but my light company ain't talking about Jesus. They're gonna hit the clink, and then I'm gonna come down to the offering and ask you for help, and then you're gonna tell me I ain't did enough in church this year to get no help from the church. And so no, I gotta do church work and corporate work, and I am a pastor. All right, I'm a pastor, and I want to help all churches. As a matter of fact, I do more corporate work so I can be of assistance and help discount for ministry to assist, right? But that don't mean I owe you anything. My price is still my price. And so it's best to develop relationship. And it is the same thing with all levels of creativity between, your media team. Send somebody on your media team to a class so they can learn. Send the little girl who been doing flyers in Canva, send her to a class so she can learn about design. I mean, we used to back in the day build the things that we needed from inside our churches, and that's what made the heart of them be there. So get back to doing what you need. You know what I'm saying?
Jesus' marketing strategy was go out and compel men to come, the highways and byways, and word of mouth.
Jesus marketing.
He didn't need no flyer because he used word of mouth.
Listen, I'm telling people, if your church was actually good, people would be there.
The miracles were the flyer.
That part
was the flyer.
Work spoke for him.
Jonathan Johnson says, how often do y'all upgrade your software? Do you get the new Adobe as soon as it gets out? I'll go. Right? No.
I know.
Because it is like iPhone and all love and joy to the late Steve Jobs and say something. No. Because there's so many bumps and bugs and stuff flying, and absolutely not. I wait till they work all that out. I personally like Photoshop 2021. It gives me the least, and I know somebody like, what? It gives me the least amount of problems. Right?
Now, I did upgrade when they started doing the AI generate and to pull out the background right quick. It's nice.
It's nice, but it always shuts down. So my answer is no. I learned long ago it just doesn't work, and Photoshop does allow you to go back a couple versions. So that version works for me until Photoshop says I can't do it no more. Then I'm fine. I know I'm not dated, but I'm just saying it doesn't crash for me.
Like we said earlier, if you're an amazing designer, you are talented and gifted, you could be using Photoshop 1999 and you're still gonna give us absolute greatness. Good design is good design. Period.
Good design is good design.
Pen tool is a pen tool is a pen tool.
It's not mean use Photoshop 7.0 now. Now he is kidding. So, pick yourself up.
Sweet.
Also, all designers aren't brand designers or strategists. That's okay. But educate your client, yes, sir, appropriately.
I think designers at this point, though, everybody needs to have some type of fundamental understanding of branding and building a brand. Especially if you want to package some of your services up and get more coin. Learn at least fundamentals. One book I wanted to recommend was Zag by Marty Neumeyer. We were talking about people kind of following the trends, and Jerry was saying he goes the opposite way. That means he's a zagger. That you got to go the other way. Sometimes is when you see this happening, do a complete other thing, and that'll help you stick out.
Walter says, I don't trust Adobe to upgrade anything when it comes out. So yeah, I never get the upgrades. I actually don't recommend it. I think you should wait till they work out all the glitches. Mr. Darwin Hobbs. If you know Darwin Hobbs, he's one of the most amazing, kindest artists on the country. He says churches need to retain. Now this is coming from an A-list artist, okay? So if you don't trust what we said. He said churches need to retain designers like you all and allow you to create and establish their brand for consistency. And I will read it again, amen, for somebody in the back. and allow you all to create and establish their brand for consistency. Are you guys open and available for this type of partnership? Or will that intervene with projects you have with other clients? And I'll let Jessica.
Please retain me. That I would have no problem with it, so long as our agreement is a fair exchange of what you need and I'm compensated well. I think that for me, I wouldn't go into it cold. I would give at least a trial couple months at this certain rate. So that way, sometimes churches don't need as many um, products as you might offer or you might want to offer. So I definitely have no problem with retaining, especially because that's steady, that's a steady income. But I would do a trial run first. Sorry,
Well,
Travis.
this is good.
For me to go off of that comment or the question, I think one thing and another thing is we have to set clear is retain does not mean own. I know a lot of us have worked with businesses, churches, whatever, that feel like because you're on retainer, they can call you 3 o'clock in the morning because they forgot that whatever was needed or whatever is due. And I guess no, but for us as designers, retainers are better. It's consistency for y'all, but it's consistency for us too. We know that money coming in every month. And for me, in a sense, having 5 retainers to me is better than having 500 just random flyers that you gotta do. And so a good designer and a good branding person and a good all of those things is going to be good all the way around. So
yeah, and I think you have to be. So to answer Mr. Hobbs' question, so honored because he's just one of the kindest guys.
I mean, one of my favorites.
One of my favorites. The man can just sing heaven down. Okay. The truth is, yes. I think most designers say yes to retainers.
Absolutely.
But I also have learned every retainer is not your retainer. Everybody's just not your client. And I think I say, I'm going to say this right because I want to work for it as long as Jesus says so. So always respectfully. You have to know who you are. Right. And it's okay if you're, since we're talking about faith-based, that wasn't the goal. Okay. So these rules can really apply to businesses. They can apply to artists. Listen, it's okay if you're not the big church.
Right.
It's so okay. But just know you have to be okay with who you are today, at least who you are today. So that means if I'm a curvy girl, which I probably tell I'm 105, right? But I know I can't wear what XYZ person wears, at least not today. Until I get to, okay, until I get to the place where I've worked on myself, I've slimmed down, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and then I can wear that next thing, right? So until you get there, you have to be okay with where you are today. This is not to suggest you should settle. This is just to say you can't be the TD Jakes. That's $1 million budget. That's a huge staff. So if it's just you and your wife and your 100 people, it's okay.
You know how you can be TD Jakes? Strategize. Even if it's just for those 100 people, best believe Potter's House has a strategy, has vision, has an itinerary. They know where they're going in the next year. Treat your ministry just the same, like it's a business, because it is a business. It is an institute, and it should be dealt with accordingly. Just like you have your church calendar. That's what I don't understand. If you've ever been on staff at a church, I'm sorry, y'all. If you've ever been on staff at church, we have these meetings, these beginning of the year meetings. That's the only meeting we have. Most of the time, it's a projected. Maybe some people threw together real quick. There's no real presentation. There's no real strategy. This is what we mean by taking yourself seriously, because all the other things fall in place. The more you prepare and the more that you're ready and strategize, even if it's for the 100 people, those 100 people deserve quality just like those million people in any other church. Like I said, present your best. Give your best. That's what excellence is really, that. Presenting, preparing, giving God your best work.
Yes, ma'am.
not. I'm sorry. I'm really a stickler for that because we talk about how we're not organized and how we don't have these things, but every year we have these same ritualistic things that we do, but we don't really fulfill. Well, I can't say every church, but for the most part, the churches are doing their fair deal. That's what I'm saying. If you have that meeting,
Right.
some churches don't have it. Some places don't have that, and it is important.
So
Treat
let
your
me clarify what you just said, what I'm saying, and so we're all on the same path, right? Because I'm not saying be okay being. I'm not saying be okay. I'm saying understand that you may not be able to do what they do today, but I do highly agree about planning. So if it's just you and your wife, then you and your wife, Sunday after church, you're going out to eat. She has a notebook in, and I mean every word of what I'm saying. She has a notebook in your purse, and she takes out the notebook, and you write down what you're gonna do for the next 30 days. Maybe 30 days is all you can do. But you start, and I highly agree with this, and you start to strategize, right? So we've all had these conversations. Jesus died around the same time. There's no reason. Okay, I'm getting my bag. I need to come on my bag. Okay. You can plan ahead, right? Right now it's Black Music Month. Do something at your church about that, right? So whatever next holiday is coming, if you plan ahead, you can see some consistency. And I think that's what Darnhoff is saying really is like a lot of times there's lack of consistency because there's lack of planning. That has nothing to do with the size of your space. It has nothing to do how big your church is. That has nothing to do with that. It doesn't even have to do with budget. Because there's some things you can do that cost you nothing. But what costs you something is planning. And that because it costs you time. So the truth is, I want to say this in the most kindest way. The truth is you should not be driving down the street sending any of us a text message. First of all, it's dangerous. Second of all, it says that you're probably trying to do multiple things at one time that you may not have to do. Sit down. I highly agree with Jessica. Sit down and make a plan. How did they get so many people at the space? They made a plan. RJ.
So there's some other pieces that go into this, right? You know what else doesn't make good sense? You making decisions about what you're going to do in ministry based on pride and competition, right? Because that's a lot of what it is. It's a lot of, I don't want to know that somebody else can do something that I can't do. And so when I see somebody else, a lot of times the phone call is, hey, can you do something like, or did you see that? I wanted to look like, and how want to get what they got. Yeah. So now you got churches full of, LED walls, right? But no training for the camera operators. So we watching your LED screen on the camera and you got the lines going all through it because your camera folks don't even know nothing about ISO. It's like, don't skip the steps. If you're going to be a ministry of excellence, then be excellent all the way through. Starting with, can you please communicate your vision? If you can't communicate your vision, then your team doesn't know what you're doing. We can't figure out what you're doing. And so a lot of times that has to do with why you have these compacted time constraints with when you can get to us because you don't know what the theme is. You haven't figured out who the speakers are going to be because you can't get a call back. And it's like it compacts and constricts time. Just do one good event. Like, can we just do one good one that we can afford, that we can make a good budget for, that we can really put the time and effort into? Like, do one good one. And if you do one good one, like, it'll give you an amazing platform and amazing foundation to grow on. But when you try to reach for the stars, and look, does your streaming service start on time? If your live stream can't start on time, then the graphics that we're doing for you ain't even gonna be seen. it's like it's the basic stuff that is just rudiment for leadership in ministry, and it's not any difference between that and if you have a business that you're trying to get your business off the ground. I mean, do you have a branding strategy for your business? Did you do a grand opening? Is there a press release? I mean, we're doing conferences and nobody's showing up because once you get the flyer, you ain't been teaching evangelism, so ain't nobody passing it out. Your members ain't participating in social media engagement. Like let's work the plan.
Oh, this is good. So when you were talking, I thought about something, right? Again, always respectfully, because I want to work a long time. I don't think it makes sense to have an LED screen if you don't have people to work the cameras. So in my opinion, I think before you, again, when I say this, but I do mean what I say, because I saw this for a long time, even in my own city. It's hard to compete with the big guys when you don't have big guy thoughts.
Why are we competing with the big guy at
I
all?
think a lot of times people compete with the big guys because they think it works. But you said something really, really good. TD Jakes, they don't just have events. They sit down and they make a plan and they strategize, and someone has an idea and he says, "No, I don't like that." Someone else says, "No, I like that. Okay." They talk, and this is why I say this simple plan of this pastor and wife. They sit down in dinner, talk, communicate, figure it out. Maybe you don't need an LED screen. RJ, maybe you need to figure out how to go live at 9:00, and when you go live at 9:00. The stream does not go out. Maybe that's the part right now, because I didn't plan to talk about church stuff. This is on their fault.
Can you hardline, please?
First of all, can we make sure our singers can actually stay on key to be properly displayed on the live?
Yeah, like so. And this,
and our sound, our audio be on point. So
yeah, like sometimes I think we shout out to Pastor Renee Glenn, which I think everybody on the universe should follow this woman. She's Jesus' other sister. She's absolutely incredible. But she did something that I think is very amazing. At some point, she actually turns the live off.
Absolutely.
At first, I said, this is crazy. Why? But because she wanted to, which you're not going to be like super, I don't know, deep. At some point, she said, enough. Thank you for being online with us. We're good. The stream works. She has a little bitty country church in South Carolina, but the stream works. It's effective. It's on time. And at some point she says, because she understands there's been a shift in the room, and she turns the live off. Or you may come on her live and you see nothing but welcome to Restoration Center. And because at that moment she understands that what's going on may not need to be seen but be heard. So I think it's just really important to know who you are and who you serve. Because like RJ said, I mean, it just for real, it makes no sense to have the LED screen if you're late. If you come on, if your church starts at 9, but you came on at 9:20, when you really, even today, I tried to come on, instead of coming on at 8, the live started like at 7:50, and this thing's rolling. That gives people time to come in, that kind of thing. I'm not the live expert, but I am saying just a little bit more thought, a little bit more care. Like you said, hardline. If you're pulling from the Wi-Fi and 800 people are pulling from that Wi-Fi, it's going to pull from that, RJ.
So check this out, right? One of the reasons why people have not returned to some churches is because there's nothing worth returning to. If the strategy is, I just tell the truth. I mean, if the strategy is then that once what you see online has got you to what you came for, you don't get this if you don't get the rest if you don't come to the building. Right? Because if you're doing something like if you shut your live off, and I know and I can feel from home that you're getting ready to go to the next level, it will compel me to eventually show up in the place, right? Mm-hmm. It's like it creates another level of ministry that might be the reason why I'm actually watching you in the first place. But there are some places you can watch the from the beginning to the end and ain't nothing to see. So it's like if that's the case, you know, let like focus on the main thing. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, if I'm watching your church's live stream and you long live from beginning to end, and I don't watch you for 2 months and ain't seen nobody except Christ, I got questions. I mean, it's just what it is. Sometimes we're really not at a level where we should be putting in the world what we do, right? Because you're wondering why certain churches sound like a Grammy nominated CD. Well, we can't even do that with the mixer that you got in the back of your church, right? If
Nope.
I wanted to use the plug-in, you don't even know what that's about. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when I'm choosing on my phone who I'm gonna click on YouTube, you're not gonna be one of them because you're not you're not there. That makes sense.
Yeah, it
Okay.
makes total sense. Go ahead, Jess.
Well, especially because nowadays everybody's got a live stream. And that's one thing I was asking is why are we looking to compete? Because at the end of the day, your people are, for me, ministry is a little bit different than in business structure. You kind of have a little leeway in how you bring people to you with business. You should be teaching Jesus or, teaching the Bible, etc. And then what keeps people, I feel, in church is like he was saying, is presentation overall. And wanting to keep people coming back because everybody, sometimes you don't have an off day. So what is keeping me beyond the praise team? What is keeping me beyond the pastor? You know what I mean? Is it good word? Is it good? I will admit I don't even go to church in my own city, and there are churches here mainly because mainly because I feel like I received the word. The pastor that I follow is a forward thinking pastor. I live in a small city. It's very difficult to kind of get his mindset in this type of city. I have to remember that even my ministry is to beyond my city limits. And so I follow somebody who exemplifies what I'm looking, who I am, who I should be. So you really, if there's a million live streams, you're gonna go with the person that's gonna keep your attention for one, and two, is not gonna yell in your ears, and it's gonna be a pleasant experience overall. And one thing I love is when they have the understanding of marketing and they get your email or they collect some kind
Mm-hmm.
of information from you or they maybe do a follow-up post, thank you for coming out, text, SMS, whatever. You understand that there is a need for assimilation. You have to bring people in. So I just think that you don't it doesn't you can be a big huge church and still flop and not do it right, or you could be a small church and be A1 and on point. It's just a matter of, number one, your surrender. Have you surrender your will to God and submitted to what he wants you to do? Because like RJ was saying, we probably competing with somebody else and not really focusing on what God has for us to do. Do you think Jonah could have done Moses' job? You know what I mean? Like we have to understand that we're called to specific people and specific things. So the more you lean on God, and you have people that can help support your ministry, utilize those people and not just for the quick thing. Like have respect enough even for their gifts and talents to map things out. I'm a stickler for that. I'm sorry, just mainly because we could all just up level a little bit if we just put one day of focus per church, even if it's just 30, like she said, even if it's just 30 days. Map out those 30 days and look at the difference between just doing things off the cuff. And here's the wait, one more thing. As you prepare, and this is even like praise and worship rehearsal, okay? As you prepare, you make room for pivot. You make room
Yes,
for
ma'am.
things to change if you have to, because you know how it's supposed to go. If things mess up, you're not stuck and you're not falling down this snowball of foolishness. So the more you prepare, amen, the more room you leave for God to have his way. Yeah.
Walter says something really good. I wish more people would do that. As we were talking about Pastor Renee Glenn, he said if you're going to do something sensitive and specific to your house that can't be explained, this is so good, then you should cut the string. And I'm going to say this. At first, I was totally against people cutting their strings, right? Like, we can't see what happened because I'm not a person that judges like, I can't believe they did this. Like, no, I mean, what happened? But I think when my friend explained to me why she was cutting the string, and then when I've been exposed to her ministry, which is absolutely incredible, it made so much sense, right? So I think when you have to have that wisdom to know, as I always say, when to hold and when to fold. Mr. Larry Whitfield, who is in the music industry for a long time, he says a choir that can't sing should not be on live. I'm sorry. Use what's good. My great friend Naaman says church has to have that gradual pull, that the live has to draw you closer to want to be a part. Absolutely the truth. I think, streaming is a tool, right? It's a part of your toolbox. Shout out to Zion Temple for the greatest mix on the internet. This is true. These are really good thoughts. Mr. Larry Whitfield also says there are times the ministry shouldn't have everything on live. Use what is good for the ministry and stop the others from looking. Yeah, we've seen this go bad probably a million times, right? So with all that we talked about tonight, first again, thank you guys for being here tonight. I want to wrap up like in the next 20 minutes. So with all that we talked about, man, how to again, where do we go from here, right? I think this is a forever evolving conversation, right? We went from creatives and correct things to do, and now we're over here in the, in Jesus land. What do we do from here? How do we, because I think a lot of times what happens is people have a lot of conversations and they do a lot of complaining, right? And I'm not suggesting that's what we're doing. I'm saying a lot of times people have a lot of conversations. Everybody's complaining, but there's no answer. There's no, just like, okay, I hear you, but what do I do? Thoughts, please, Mr. RJ, Pastor.
So since we veered like deep away from industry and like jumped straight into baptismal pool in church, maybe others could be compelled to trust the spiritual gifts of the designers that God has connected them to. Because just because we don't have a microphone and ain't saying what thus saith the word of the Lord, a lot of us have eyes to see more than what some people see in our designs, right? A lot of us wake up in the middle of the night hearing from God about you, because we don't just come and do this out of just something to make money with. A lot of us have learned how to use our gift to make room for our lives, right? And so if I've been taught in an environment and cultivated in an environment and gifted in an environment and matured in an environment, that means that I may be prophetically speaking through the artwork that I'm putting on your design, right? Mm-hmm. I may be apostolically pushing towards a certain area because what you said your vision is connects with something on the inside of me. So don't just take for granted that I'm some designer, right? Understand that I'm partnering with you in ministry before the choir sings, before the worship leader picks out the songs. Like, we're laying a foundation of expectation for what people will experience when they arrive. That means we got to be forward seers. That means that, it is just that deep. And if it's not that deep, you might want to consider the relationship that you have with the person who's designing for you.
And Pastor,
hear it? I think, where do we go from here? I know one thing that we learned in college, because with our testing quizzes were design projects, and we sat around each other and we said, hey, this is amazing because of X, Y, Z, or this sucks because of X, Y, and Z. But one thing our professor always told us, shout out to Ms. Bain, I don't know if she's watching, but you can't have a complaint if you have no solution for the person. So you can't say this design is a bad design and drop the mic. You've got to tell me why it doesn't function. Next part is it a bad design or is it just not your taste? And that's one thing that I always pride myself in judging other people's work. If it's a good design, it's just not my taste. I can say, hey, that's a great design. That just ain't for me. I would have done this. Versus it's trash, which happens to us as designers. People come back and say, well, I don't even know why you would send this to me. You know, I want what this person wants. And it's like, that don't even work for them. So why would you want it for you? So is that the other thing that I'll challenge, going back to the cultural thing earlier, is I challenge churches and black businesses is to adopt the spirit of excellence and not just in graphic design. You want us to be so perfect, but you know, we still walking in on the same carpet that we've had in our church for 30, 40 years that's run down. You know, or like we said, our praise and worship leader don't usher in nothing. Like, so yes, you should have in workshops to make them better. You should, if you don't have that, then you also need to call in somebody to educate your media team. If media is even a necessity at that moment, you got to perfect the small things before you can operate the big things. Because honestly, I feel if you try to do too much too quick, that foundation ain't there, it's going to crumble, which we see it happen every week when, you know, people are in church with their iPhone hooked up to the sound system and you got Andre 3000 and Megan Thee Stallion playing over the thing because you don't have the systems in place, or you don't have a church iPad or something in place to only operate that music. You have people using their personal things to do that. So I definitely think that we've got to adopt the spirit of excellence across the board and not just with the things. We got to also put our pride aside. I think that's another huge thing, because comparing my things to a TD Jakes or a Matthew Stevenson or a LeBrian Friend or whoever, you know, what works for them doesn't work for everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, there are things that, yes, we can adopt, we can use, we can see, hey, that's awesome, that's amazing. But are we doing it because it works, or are we doing it because we want to look better?
This is good.
And I think says things to look better, and ain't no room for pride in the church or anything spiritual. Ain't no room for it.
Naaman says you cannot miss God moments, from the pulpit to the parking lot to the live stream. Your next member, your next tithe payer, the next suicide, you stop. The next basketball player looking to sow. The next leader who is looking for guidance is all how the purpose looks, all how the perception of the ministry and vision is. It's all connected. Yep. Jessica.
I agree with everybody in that. Start small. There's small things that you can do to improve your ministry today, your business today, because it's not just, you know, ministry. Just small. Get rid of the circle logos from Canva. I don't care if you use Canva. No more circle logos, bro. I'm over it. No more. And you know exactly what I'm talking about too.
And since we're here, making a designer is actually creating something unique. Me and one of my friends watching today, I designed a flyer, and she looked at it. She said, "That's the same logo that my church has." And it's funny. There's like 5, I can't say major churches, but there's 5 well-to-do churches that all of them have essentially the same logo. And sure enough, we searched a brief description of it in Free Pick, and that was the first logo to pop up. So as an integral designer, at least take something that is there and make it unique, add a different spiral to it, or do something to make it unique.
It's like that little pyramid thing that used to be in Publisher, that when you did like the template for a business card, that's like the first logo that came up. And
you know, every church was using a long cross for the T.
Yeah.
Like, we just got to think outside of the box and think it's different.
Or I call them the logos.
Listen, I think it's hard to create for people who don't know who they are.
Absolutely.
So, you know, my thought would be, in the sense of a faith-based, but I even feel this about businesses, artists. You know, maybe you don't subscribe to Jesus, okay? Maybe you subscribe to something else. I just want you to take some time and figure out who you are. Because when you come to a person like me or Jess or Jared or whoever and whatever. Some people may not be as patient. I'm patient, so I will talk to you. I will walk. I will walk with you. But some people may not be that way.
Mm-mm.
And so when you come to someone and you say, which something happens very often. I told you about this, and they'll say, "I need a logo," for example. I say, "Okay, what kind of logo you need?" I don't know. Oh, okay. So tell me about what you do. Again, I'll make cupcakes. What kind of cupcakes you make? I make lemonade cupcakes. How long you been doing it? They start to answer the questions. So why did you start making cupcakes? I don't know. What is it about cupcakes that you like? So if you don't know who you are, it's hard for me to tell your story.
You know what I figured out?
Go ahead.
A lot of once you have a certain level of experience, a lot of the questions that you start asking people, especially businesses, becomes like business plan strategy and vision casting. And it's like you start realizing that you're trying to help them create something that they should have already internally had, developed. And it's like, why do if I'm gonna sit there and go through all of this is no longer your cupcake company. This is my cupcake company. Now I need to find somebody who can make some cupcakes and sell it for myself. Like, I'm giving you too much.
Yep.
A friend just jumped on me. He said, "But sister," he's the only person that can call me that. "But sister, you cannot be branding and consulting and the graphic designer and the artist if you are not being compensated." Well, you have to know I'm doing much, much better, right? So I used to tell the phone, "Oh, tell me about the story." But now, yes, you get a free consultation. But when you start talking about you have to pay for that. You say, why would I have to pay for that? Because like he said, I've raised a lot of creative children that I didn't get recognition for when they graduated. This is
I'm
cool,
one.
right? You're one.
Or you can give them so much, and then they'll go find another designer for cheaper to get them to do what you told them
to do. And this is why it's so important that, again, I say you may have to take a little bit of time to figure out who you are, to figure out what do you do? If you're a pastor and you've been pastoring for 30 years, you should be able to tell me about your church. I always have this story where a pastor came to me and he wanted me to design something for his church. It wasn't even a logo. It was like a flyer. I said, "Tell me about your church." He says, "We have church at 11. This is like the real answer. We're in real life. We have church at 11. And we have Bible study on Wednesdays at 7. And on Fridays, we have BTU, right? Like Bible, what is it? Bible training union. And on Saturday, I said, "Did he just tell me?" I said, no. I don't mean.
You should have hung up.
What'd you say?
You should have hung up.
No, because I was so lost by his answer. I said, "No, I don't mean this." I said, "Tell me about your church, like the vision. Tell me about the heartbeat of your wife." The same about the heartbeat. So tell me about the heartbeat. And he could not tell me. Yet he had been preaching 30 plus years. Right. And someone says, "This is impossible." It happens all the time. Somebody come to me and say, "Yolanda, I need a cover. Tell me about your song." Because that's how I work best. Tell me about your song. Didn't you listen to my song? I'm going to get out my bag. But you recorded the song. You can't tell me about the song? Like, what does the song mean to you? But then you listen to it. Okay. Again.
No, I didn't listen. That was not a part of the consultation. You didn't pay. You're not paying me to listen to your song. You paying me to make a design.
Pay me to make a design. You say, "Yolanda," but you said solutions. Here's my solution. Take some time. Slow down. Please slow down. You don't have to text us and drive. It's okay, right? So slow down. That's the first part. Be willing to make a plan. Be willing to have a conversation. Be willing to understand. What's up, Marcus Cole? Be willing to understand that you may need a consultation and you may need more than one. And after the one, depending who you talk to, that may incur a fee, right? Just saying, be open to doing it better, raising the bar, raising the excellence. Me and Jerry talk about this like every day.
Why don't you have a mission and vision statement as
Man,
you know, oh,
And a non-chat GPT generated one at that.
you've been preaching for 20 years? Why you don't know who you're called to?
oh damn! It turned your
my
brain
statement I live by.
Furthermore, where's the fruit? What are you doing?
Fruit.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't want to. In my opinion, I've learned some people. We do our own work, right? We probably all manage our own stuff, but I've learned a lot of people are not interested in that. Yep. And maybe that's okay if you're willing to compensate for the person that does.
Yep.
The Bible says, write the vision. The Bible says that.
Yes, ma'am. But
make it so.
A lot of us have churches, and we was never called to pastor our own church. We just owe our pastor an apology. So there's that. That's why a lot of these churches ain't growing. Let's just
an apology.
But some won't sent. They just went. Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said. And Yolanda, you know my word I live by is we can't be so much in a rush to give people something that nobody wanted in the first place.
He tells me this all the time. Yolanda, nobody was looking for that.
Nobody. And that is one thing that I've learned in my proper marketing and things is, yes, it may be a great idea, but nobody is wanting that. You have to give people the taste, a little bit of taste. So case in point, if I'm looking at having a conference next year, I've got to start showing people, first of all, that I even know what I'm talking about. I got to start building that audience, because that audience that is tuning into me every single week and supporting me and everything, that's the same audience that I'm expecting to come to my event. So if they don't know, if they've never seen me operate in this, they're not going to know, hey. So that's why 3 weeks before the conference, I'm going to have to postpone to a later date, because nobody was coming. Nobody knew. Nobody's ever seen me in that thing. So back to the statement, you can't rush people into something that nobody wants in the first place.
Here's my last thought. First, again, thank you all for having me. RJ, thank you for being here. I'm sorry. RJ Stevenson, Jessica Vann, Jared Michael. And so I'm going to tell you one of my favorite things about these. Me and RJ actually have been connected for a really long time through social media, but we just met at Elton's conference. This is something people don't know. All of us are connected, right? But we live all over the country. Some of us have been, like me and Jessica, this is so crazy. We have never seen each other in person. And we've been connected for years through social media, right? We've all developed these friendships and relationships. And so, RJ he's just got really some amazing things going on. Really happy about that. Jess has an amazing podcast that's on every Monday night, right? Called Dope. Jared, to me, is the what do you call it? What do you do all the time? I always miss. He to me is like the composite prince.
Gotcha.
This guy can take you from anywhere you want to be with the right elements involved. So, Elton says, thank you all for coming to the Creative Verse. Yes, the Creative Verse is an amazing conference that happened in Raleigh, Durham a couple weeks ago. And so if you're on here and you're saying, what is that? I want to connect. Please connect with Elton Benjamin. So you can go to Creative Verse 2025. It was amazing. Jonathan Johnson says, y'all have my undivided attention for hours. Wild. Thank you all for this respect. And he just released a brand new album that is actually very incredible from start to finish. So my last thought is, what tip would you give either a creative or a client? A creative or a client. The client can be church, it can be business. What tip would you give them, and how can people connect with you? First, ladies first.
I say just real simple. If you want, as a creative, be consistently ever learning, always learning. Don't stop learning. Continue to be a student. That way you won't stay stagnant. Don't be afraid of AI. Use it as a tool. It's still a tool right now. It's not taking over your job yet. I think that for the most part, consistency is gonna win every time on either side, creative or as a client. So the more you plan out, the more I'm gonna keep saying it until it happens. Okay, consistency is key and king, and we all need to utilize planning and strategizing at any level. And that's what presents excellence. Hello, it's me.
Hello. Shout out to the Bonita Bellamy Kelly, one of my really good friend, who's been in the industry for a very long time. And so, if you need radio, you need really like radio servicing, you need information. I'll tell you one thing about this lady: she's going to tell you the truth. She's going to tell you if you're ready to put music out, or if you need to go back and try it again in the most loving kind way, though. but she is a genius, and she's been around for a very long time. Okay, share it. Um,
My two pieces of advice is be yourself and invest in yourself. As simple as that. And
that's good. Be yourself and invest. And how can people find you? Just go back. How can people find you?
On Instagram I'm underscore Jessica underscore Vann, VANN. On Facebook, just Jessica Vann, or you can go to my business page, just.b.dope on Instagram. JMA Creative is the name.
Thank you. And Jared, how can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everything across the board. Gmail at Jared Michael Design Co. at gmail.com. Or just Jared Michael Design Co. That's across the board on everything.
You made me think about someone say we okay, RJ. Tip, how can people find you?
All right, my one tip is Ephesians 3:20, right? Have your mind always set on above and beyond what you can ask, think, or imagine. God was the creative, and so therefore He created us creatives, right? You can find me at RJ Stevenson everywhere. It's all the same stuff. Just
All the same stuff. So I thought about something when Jared was talking. I won't. Jared encouraged me to do something that I want to encourage as a tip. I'm gonna give a couple tips, but he encouraged me to do something. And he is like the youngest person here, but he's like an old man. So he encouraged me to do something. He said, find a passion project, something that you can invest in, that you can put your heart into, whether it's a person, whether it's a business. And he has done this so well, man. He's taken one of our favorite people, and without me getting like emotional, and he's just brought life to her, and I think it's the dopest thing in the world. And so find you something that you believe in, that you feel like may need some water. That's good. Something that you think, I wish this could be better, and if the party or parties are interested, then you pour, right? Now you don't pour until you're empty. You set some boundaries, right? You set some lines, but water, you can't just take, right? As creators, sometimes we can be charged with just taking. You have to pour somewhere. Today I did an interview with Mr. Larry Whitfield. He said, well, how did you get here and how did you get there? I served my way. I never tried to get in those doors like that. When I tried to do that, it never worked. So you serve your way, you give your way, you pour where you should. Sometimes we can be guilty of pouring too much. So you pull back, right? My tip to creators is get around other people who do what you do and they do it better than you. If you're around everybody who does the same thing as you, at the same level of you, that's where you will stay. I will always tell people, Jared started around the same age I did, and he's better than me. It's amazing to me, but just the truth. He's better than me. And you have to be around people that can sharpen your gift. And if you're not willing to be sharpened, I think you should get out the game.
Yeah.
All together. There's always going to be somebody that's becoming, and there's always going to be someone that's better than you in every single lane. There's little girls who are 5 years old that can sing circles around me. And you have to know that. Yes, sir.
If you're still competing with somebody who's becoming, why haven't you become?
Well,
And And you shouldn't. I've always said you shouldn't be the greatest person in your circle. There should always be somebody better than you.
There should always be somebody.
The mentor you started out with, you may supersede, and there may be time to find a new mentor. It has nothing to do with personal preference. It has nothing to do with relationship. There might come a time that you sort of supersede them, and it's time to find somebody at the next level. And then you may grow, and it may be time to find somebody else. So always challenge yourself with, like Yolanda said, is keeping a solid group of people. And you may be amazingly talented here, but you may suck as a person. So now you might need somebody in life, a life coach or something to help get you there. So you're a good person all the way around. So, therapy.
Yes, and please, creators, go to therapy. It is a lot to consume people's ideas and thoughts, plus your own ideas and thoughts, plus bills, plus life, plus this, plus that, plus the pandemic, plus the Trump, plus the and it just keeps building. So the truth is, you cannot make it alone. You need people. You need a village. This is why I always say, you need someone who was where you were, so you can appreciate where you are. You need people that are the same place as you. Then you need people who are doing what you're doing, but maybe they do it better than you. And then I think you need people who don't do what you do at all.
Absolutely.
They don't do graphics. They're a chef. They're not a chef. They're a hairstylist. Hairstylists shouldn't be around all hairstylists.
Absolutely.
You need people in your life that are better than you. A tip for clients is be open. Be open to the conversation. It may be very uncomfortable for me to tell you that you need more than just this square flyer. Right? So this is a simple thing. You need more than just the online square flyer. You need something for the stories. So it just doesn't fit inside the tiny frame. You need something maybe for your streaming platform. But if you're just thinking, I just need a flyer real fast because, I'm just selling my book. Words have power. So you're just selling your book. I'm just putting out a single. It's no big deal. I just need a cover. It's only a single. Well, that's it. Okay. It's only going to be a single. I could go on. So.
And then you gotta be careful how you discount people. Because just because I'm a graphic designer doesn't mean I don't own a bookstore.
Pastor.
Reverend.
Now you really being a pastor.
Man of God.
This is true though. And you just said, I'm gonna get off light because we can talk all night. You cannot also discount what you just said. You cannot discount who they are, and you cannot discount relationships.
Yeah. So
just because Jared is cool, laid back, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have relationships. You don't know. The truth is, this is what Mom always said, you have to be careful how you treat people. You don't know who knows who. Just because I don't tell you I know somebody doesn't mean I don't. I just don't. A lot of times we're working. So I'm not going to tell you like, oh yeah, I know this X, Y, and Z person. And doesn't give you a license to try to use to get to me, to use those relationships, right? But sometimes we can connect you with other things, and it's just all about how you treat people in those spaces. So I agree with him. Don't discount it because you may be talking to a person who is connected with Barnes and Noble, and they're interested in your book is really good, and they want to push your book over there. You're not just be open to the conversations. We're good.
You gotta take yourself serious.
Take yourself serious.
You don't. Nobody will.
Nobody will.
Yeah. So I just want to encourage this. A lot of things. Church attendance, since we talked about church, is my last thought. Church attendance does go down in the summertime. It happens to everybody. If you plan ahead, you can get ahead of that. But if you don't give them a reason to come, especially in this day when they can choose to not be in the building at all, then they just may not come. You have to plan. I was going to say this. You have to plan ahead. He's pulling his finger in Pastor Archie's looking like, yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying like church, the same people who go to church in winter, spring, and fall, they doing something in the summertime. So if during the summer I needed a break, I'm not coming to church. But if church is something that holds value for me, and I've made it a priority because of the experience that I get. Oh, I'll come back home to be there on Sunday morning.
Oh, that's good.
What do you prioritize? Yeah.
Valuable experience. So before we leave this live, I since we are, Jesus kids, I would love if Pastor RJ would pray for creatives or however you feel as you pray. I don't want to miss Bonita's thought. She says, "Good tips, words. All of y'all are dope creators. Miss most of this, but we'll watch the replay. Love you, yo. Love you back. Love you, Jessica." So, Pastor RJ, do you mind praying for creatives?
Sure, let's do it. God, you are amazing. Nobody can create like you create. Every day when we sit down at our laptops, we still trying to figure out how to do something as miraculous as what you did in 6 days. Let your blessings continue to flow amongst us as we create. Challenge us in our hearts to become who you've made us to be. Help us to push towards our potential and to starve the mediocrity. Help us to move towards what you would have us to do, beyond the price point, beyond the retainer. But God, help us to see purpose in our lives. We thank you for giving us this creative gift. There are many people who wish they could do what we can do, but God, you've chosen and selected us. Continue to help us stay faithful to your voice. Holy Spirit, continue to speak to us. Wake us up all times of the night so that we can continue to be who you've made us to be in this world. And by all means, allow us to have opportunities every day to tell someone about how amazing you are in our lives, and that it's not our good sense and our creativity, but it's you working through us. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you all for being with us and hanging out with us. And if you need graphic services, listen, I may not be your person. I've so learned to be okay with it. But Jess may be your person, Jared may be your person, RJ may be your person. And they do a multitude of things. It's just not good. We're more than graphic designers. Okay. So reach out if you need help, if you need assistance, if you have a question, if you want to upgrade your life, if you want to raise your bar, reach out and let's all become better. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Until later, have a good night.